Well, hello, Rebecca.
Hello.
Do you know what season is upon us?
Summer, which means travel season.
Travel season. That's when families get together, whether they like each other or not, and they try to find fun things to do together. And sometimes it doesn't turn out very well. So we're here today to offer some travel tips for families. So at least maybe the parents can have fun? I don't know. No, so everybody can have fun.
Everybody can have fun.
And
That's the goal.
Yeah, we were just talking about some trips we've taken. I took the boys to three different trips to do 2 different countries. We went to Africa with the youngest, and then my 2 oldest, separately, I took them to China. And I'll never forget the time that we went into the Chinese restaurant, and it was the first time Jake had seen the squatty potty. And we were right on the edge of Tibet. And he went in there, and we had stayed in Western hotels until then, so this was a brand new experience. He walks into the booth. He's like, what is this? What do I do? He comes back out, and then we figured it out together. So I'll never forget that memory on our travels.
Well, I remember on one road trip, we were driving down the road with all the boys in the back. They were fussing and fighting about something as kids do on a road trip, and they were fighting over popcorn. I remember they were fighting over popcorn because I, in all my maturity, rolled down the window and started throwing pieces of popcorn out one by one. Why? So they could watch it fly by and nobody was going to be eating that popcorn. I was so irritated with all of them.
Okay, that sounds rough, but did it work?
Well, I mean, they didn't get to eat the popcorn.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't really know if I don't know what the parenting goal there was.
Yeah.
But that's beside the point. Today on our podcast, we have Rina Nehdar. She is with LA Family Travel. You can find her under that Instagram name. She's got all the tips and tricks on how to travel with the family. She's been to some really cool places, and I learned today that she speaks Russian. You want to go follow her and listen to this interview with Rina. Thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited to talk to you. We are, all about the travel and food for us. So we try to find the best food places when we travel. Do you do that?
You know what my favorite thing to do is when I travel is start a new place with a food tour.
Oh, yes.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
It's really, truly one of the best ways to get to know the history and the vibe of a place, the flavors, literally.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah. One of our favorite things that we've done in the past is we always start off a trip with a Segway tour, because that helps you kind of see this big, broad overview. And you can ask that Segway driver, like your tour guide, like, where do you eat for lunch? Like, I want to know where the locals are going, and so they're usually pretty good at that. So that's one of our.
Definitely. No, that's a great actually family travel tip with kids. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're old enough to get on a Segway. I don't know what the age is on that. I can't remember.
And the kids love the Segways. They think they're on something like super futuristic or something. So they just love it. So
we're just making sure our insurance is paid up.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this whole traveling thing that you're doing? Why do you love it so much? How'd you get into it?
So, as we grow up, we have these fairy tale images of what family life will look like. And then you have kids and reality hits you. And not only is it much more difficult than you imagined, then you get busy and you are running all over the place. And instead of having these magical moments, you're rushing them out the door and making them hurry up and put their shoes on and getting them out of the bathroom with their last minute poops. So when you leave your day to day, you get a chance to be away from all of that tumultuousness, which starts to feel normal. And I don't really think it's supposed to be normal. So you're somewhere else and you get to take a breath and look around and explore and connect with the people that you're with. And also get to see things that are completely different from your normal reality. Yeah. And for me, what I love, the more different it is, the more I love it. You get to see other parts of the world, whether it's the landscape or how people have adapted to the landscape where they now find themselves. So it's really like living in a magical movie or a book, but
Mm.
you're in your actual life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I think that's so interesting. I just went on a trip with a friend. She has a second home. She's fortunate enough to have a second home somewhere else. And I said, "Do you ever see yourself moving here?" And she said, "If I move here, my life comes with me. And then this is no longer a like sacred escape, you know?" And I was like, "Oh, that's right. Then you would have laundry and all the things that come with it." So that's kind of speaks to what you're saying, like that is true escape. And I
Exactly.
love the idea of like this that getting to know your whole environment and everything around you. Like there's so much to learn everywhere you go, you know, especially with your traveling with your kids.
Yeah,
I feel
for
like
sure.
what you just described is something I think we started, I think when our kids were 8, 10, and 12, we kind of realized we were in that rut and we decided we made a list of the places we wanted to go before the kids got out of the house. And we started doing that. And I think it helped everyone's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole family dynamic was better, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How does it, it's kind of easy to figure out what it's better for the parents because you're in a different place. It's a little more relaxing. What do you think it does for the kids? How does it help the kids to get out and see the world?
Well, for one thing, we personally live in a suburban bubble
Hmm.
and everyone looks very similar here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they have their very vanilla activities where they're in sports and school. And so when we go somewhere different, they get to see so many different flavors of life where people may be struggling, people may look completely different, people speak a different language, people have adapted. And it's it's the best form of education and way to really understand humanity that you can ever provide for your kids,
Yeah.
for my kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you think of a trip where your kids really reacted and you noticed that, oh my gosh, they're really seeing something different? Do you remember a
Mm-hmm.
time that that happened?
So this summer we went to Vietnam,
Mm-hmm.
and you can pretty much not be in a more different place than that. And there's so many different components to that because it was a 12-day trip and we went through the whole entire country. We started with Hanoi, and these streets are just teeny and filled with mopeds and people doing their day-to-day life on the sidewalk, and street vendors. And one of my kids is old enough to kind of walk around with another child. It was a family tour, so there's multiple families. So they connected with other kids. So my teenager walked around and he told me later on, like he was being approached by these, shady characters offering rides on the moped and vape pens, and they had to look out for themselves and learn how to fend for themselves, and all of those lessons that you think are going to waste in your normal life suddenly bring them fortification and strength of character, and you're
Mm.
just like,
Yes,
thank
exactly. Exactly. I remember when you went to China with our oldest son and he came back and he was sitting, I didn't go. So Drew's sitting in the back seat, I'm driving and I said, "Man, the traffic is bad today." He said, "This is not bad traffic." I was like,
Because
"Yeah,
we were in
you
Beijing, and Beijing,
you have a different
I think
perspective."
right after we got back, they had that long uh, traffic jam
Oh
that took
yeah.
months or
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
get out of. So yeah,
So I
it's
love that
nothing.
too. I love
Yeah.
that perspective they come back with. And it's so refreshing when their eyes just get opened up by something like that. Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah,
So you're
definitely.
taking a road trip with your kids or you're on a long plane ride and younger kids, how do you keep them occupied? What's your best like road trip activities?
So the secrets are naps, snacks, and distractions.
Okay, is that for the parents or the kids?
Yeah.
Or maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
For everyone. But especially for the little kids, you have to provide them an environment where they just feel comfortable, even though they're out of their normal comfort zone, so to speak. And so, you bring the accessories, you bring the pillows, you bring the snacks, keeping them hydrated, keeping them full, because low blood sugar, I mean, everybody reacts poorly to that. So much like, little kids. And so one of the first things that I did when I was traveling with my, at the time, 2-year-old, and I was so nervous on an airplane, is I bought tons of little toys, like almost like tchotchkes from the 99-cent store, and I wrapped them up in wrapping paper, and
Yeah.
I filled a backpack with them. And every like 10 minutes, half an hour, whatever, I would pull one out and give it to him, and he'd like unwrap it and like, play with the tape, play with the paper, then
Yeah.
play with the toy. And then when he was done, he was bored, he started acting up, he gets another one.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is actually a really low cost and efficient way to do it. We have a whole article on our website of what to do with kids on road trips. So
Mhm.
that also is a great resource for families that are freaking out like I was.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What one of our favorite things we did when our kids were old enough to read was we took clothespins and wrote every so many, every hour and a half, like what the next city would be on clothespins, and I pinned them on the what do you call that, the visor.
Yeah.
And so it said home and the final, destination LA, and we had all the stops in between. And so as we would hit that, it helped them like even look at the road sign and start to recognize, oh, I can see that that says, you know, Albuquerque, and then this is Albuquerque, like starting to, it was even educational. Like I didn't expect that. I was just like, let's break this down in hour increments. And then we just put them all in the console and then put them all back up on the way home. So they knew like we're getting closer to home. So that actually worked really well too. They do have to be old enough to read for sure.
That's a great idea. And it also helps answer the question, when are we going to be there? Like
Exactly
preemptively.
right. That's exactly right. They could see it was a brilliant little thing.
When you're talking
Yeah.
about being on the plane, and something I think Rebecca's really great at is when you see that mom and dad that have the little kids, like the infants and toddlers, it's to encourage them on the plane, like specifically on the plane. You know they're worn out, you know they're exhausted. They're trying to make sure the kid doesn't bother anyone.
Yeah.
So Rebecca, you do a great job of like you did great, the kid did
You're
great,
gonna
you're
make it.
awesome. Yeah.
Everybody's alive.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
So
great.
whatever we can do and with your website and everything to help the parents have some tools
Some
to do that.
access, yeah,
Yeah.
some access to some things. I think that's so great and so helpful.
And one of the things also on airplanes that I recall as a child, even traveling, is the whole um air pressure equalization in your ears.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
lot of kids just don't know how to regulate that, and it's hard and it's scary, to like do that whole nose and ear thing.
Yes.
So, I mean, nursing a baby, during takeoff and landing is was so
Yeah.
helpful. And then this woman, airline stewardess, told us about taking a cup with putting it in warm water and then putting it against their ears
Hmm.
also helped suck the pressure, regulate the pressure evenly.
Yeah.
Gum
Yeah.
with for the little kids,
Yeah.
start yawning in front of them,
That's
hoping
so
that
helpful.
that'll catch. But that's a lot of when you hear the little babies and kids start screaming. It's during takeoff and landing when
Yeah.
Yeah.
their ears haven't adjusted yet.
Yeah. 100%.
Hmm.
Okay. So what are your favorite travel apps? Because I got a few that I love and I want to know what I'm missing out there.
So my favorite travel app, actually, after we did our summer trip, we did Vietnam, but before that we did South Korea, and we did Tokyo,
Okay.
Japan. And so what was amazing was this travel app called Papago,
Okay.
and it's a translator app. So
Okay.
not only can you program what you're trying to translate to, but it translates signs or menus.
Oh,
You take a
nice.
screenshot and then you learn everything. It's incredible. Papago.
Papago. Like,
Incredible.
how do you
Yeah.
spell it? Like
Pap
P-O-P.
just the way it sounds. Papago.
PA. Oh,
Okay.
Papago. Okay. Okay. That sounds
Yeah.
That down.
so good. Yeah. No kidding. We need
Yeah.
to be using that. So you can hold it up to a sign and it shows you that too.
Yes.
Or
Yes. You can
talking to
take a
it.
picture. Exactly. Or you put in what you want to say and then you show it to them and they read
Yeah.
and they're like, oh yeah, of course.
Okay. So a step up from Google Translate. Like,
For sure. I thought so. Yeah,
things
definitely.
here. And I don't think Google Translate does the pictures or anything like that. And yeah, that sounds so much more user friendly because I could not really figure out Google Translate.
Yeah.
You usually,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
the scanning of the text is truly magical.
yeah, yeah. That's awesome. What a great thing. We need to make sure we have that.
Yeah. I wrote that one down for sure.
For
Yeah,
sure.
definitely.
So you mentioned Vietnam and those. What are like your top three family vacations you've been on, and why were they so good? Maybe to give people ideas.
So we live in Los Angeles. So
Mhm.
what's really easy when your kids are young are the short trips to get somewhere.
Mhm.
So for Los Angeles-based families, Mexico is the shortest international flight,
Okay.
about 2 hours. There's you can get to Puerto Vallarta area and Laredo area, a little bit further for longer, the Mediterranean, the Riviera Maya kind of areas.
Mhm.
But they're so affordable. You get so much for so much less.
Yeah.
And it's just fantastic. The people are so incredibly friendly. And the language is really super easy to learn if you do like a travel language app like Babbel or
Hmm.
something like that. But if you're gonna go for the big family trips, we did before all of the mayhem, before the world shut down, we did a trip to, I was born in Estonia.
Okay.
So we did a trip to Helsinki, Finland.
Oh,
We took the
wow.
ferry to Tallinn, Estonia. We explored Old Town. We went and took a bus into St. Petersburg, Russia,
Wow.
All
and
right.
then a train to Moscow. And, because I speak Russian, it was much easier to navigate because it really, I have to say, is not really set up for Westerners. You can use the Papago travel app, I'm sure, to help,
Yeah.
but that was truly magical. And we did the
Wow.
Segway tour, around St. Petersburg. And tours like that for kids are incredible because they may not be as interested or their attention span may not hold out
Mm.
like the adults, like, like
Yeah.
I really care what happened,
Yeah.
centuries before I was born. But you know what? You can they'll understand snippets if they're on something that holds their attention, like something that goes fast.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, I
Absolutely.
took my one son to Tanzania, Africa, and we did a 9-day safari. And
Wow.
you can get more
Wow.
different
That's
than
so,
that.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And the reason I only took one was they hit a certain age. My boys are 2 years apart, and they hit a certain age where their favorite activity is finding innovative ways to torture each other.
Yep.
No one wants to pay thousands of dollars for a trip where you're just like, be quiet, stop hitting each other, be nice. No
Yeah,
one wants that.
you're right.
So I started taking them on trips by themselves, wherever they wanted to go. And
Hmm.
so my 12-year-old at the time wanted to go to Africa. And then my 10-year-old wanted to go to New York. So
Okay.
we both did great trips one-on-one with
Yeah.
them. And I planned these huge itineraries and it was fantastic.
Yeah. Oh,
And when they get to
amazing.
pick, I think it gives them ownership of the trip. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, we get to go where I want to go. Okay.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes,
Even
exactly,
taking
exactly.
on some of the excursions and things
yeah.
like that. Yeah, and it helps them. We've kind of our youngest son he's quite the travel person now. Like he's the one that's picked it up. You know, our oldest is 20, almost 6, 26, 23, 21. The 21-year-old, I mean, I could drop him off in a foreign country. I think he could find his way
Oh,
around.
yeah. He loves it.
He's pretty good. We went to Christmas markets this year, and did 7 countries in 14 days, like we were fugitives racing across Europe. Um,
That's what one of the
yeah,
our son's best friend came and he
yeah.
said, I feel like
He's
we're
like, we're
fugitives.
fugitives. We're
Yeah.
just racing around everywhere.
That's hilarious.
Because I think we raised him in that environment. I mean, I'm totally content with him, traveling for. I know he knows how to get a cab. He knows how to grab a lift. And that's beyond the fun that you're having and the things you're learning right then. I mean, you're equipping them to be so active in this world and to love those things and to be able to do those things without you. So it's all
True.
bow on it.
To think on their feet because how many times have things gone wrong and
Right.
you know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
right.
Okay, Rena, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This
Yes.
just popped in my head. Okay, you're a travel expert. You've been everywhere. Have you thought about applying for the Amazing Race? Like you and your husband, or maybe if your kid's old enough now, Amazing Race? Because we love that show. So what do you
It's so funny that you say that because we have considered doing like certain like reality shows like that where they had this one show that I never saw it get off the ground, but they interviewed families for a while where you get plopped in a different circumstance than you're used to.
yeah.
Like, city family goes and lives on a farm or whatever. So I don't know whatever happened with that, but I mean, it would be fun.
Fun,
I
yeah.
don't know how, I mean, my husband has a full-time job,
Right.
my kids go to school. So, we're not one of those nomad families that
Yeah.
like goes and has given up everything. We're like the normal family that gives tips about having the best possible vacation that
Yeah.
you can do with your kids.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so speaking of tips, do you have some tips for us for the normal families that aren't like living off the land? Our oldest son kind of lives off the land, but
Yeah.
the others
He's
don't.
a raft guide in
Yeah.
Colorado. He lives in a tent most of the time. So not him,
But
but
just a regular, normal,
normal. We're
everyday.
talking about normal people.
That's amazing. So one of my favorite things to do to maximize your vacation dollars is to break up the trip, especially if it's a long trip. So this is what we did on the way to Africa. We stopped in Amsterdam on the way there and Paris on the way back. And so we were able to have a, an extended layover. So it didn't cost any money, any additional money. All we had to do was pay for a night in the hotel room. And we were able to have a full adventure on segways, on the canal boats, on everything that you could possibly do with a kid in, 24 to 48 hours. Because at that age, they don't really have the attention span anyway. And you get to break up the trip.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Another thing, if you are traveling with little kids, especially in crowded surroundings, dress them in neon because they
Yeah,
will scamper away and at least you see the bright neon yellow shirt
right.
off
You
in the distance.
count
You're like,
shirts.
hey, and also, when you're in a large surroundings and they want your attention and everyone's yelling, Mom, 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 Mom. I told them like, just call me Rina.
Yeah.
Just say Rina,
Like,
because I'll be like, what? Huh? Who?
yeah,
Or you stop, you just tune it out,
yeah,
right?
yeah. That's so true.
Also, when they're fighting, like at that age, one of the things that we started doing is putting them in different rows. Like my husband and I will sit in the front and they sit in the back. And if they can get along, then they can sit together. But as soon as they stop, they give up that privilege. And that's that.
Yes. How old are your kids?
Now they're 16 and 14. They both just had birthdays,
Okay.
which is so crazy for me.
That is crazy.
Is the 16-year-old driving yet, or is he
Ooh.
right on the edge of that?
He has his driver's permit,
Okay.
so he is on his way.
I have never once thought about a person having to learn how to drive in LA, like first
Oh
experience.
yeah. Oh gosh.
What the
Yeah,
heck? How
it's
do you do
wacky.
that?
It's wacky. I mean, I let him drive like around the streets here, but his father is a little braver than I am, and they have traversed the freeway together, and I'm like, you're crazy.
Crazy.
So
Mm,
yeah, not yet for me. And
yeah.
usually I find excuses of we're in a hurry, we don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have the bandwidth right now to deal with that. Let's do it later.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. When our youngest was learning to drive, all of a sudden we're in the car heading somewhere, and the other two kids are like, "Wait, has he driven on the interstate before?" I looked at him, I'm like, "Have you driven on the interstate?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "Oh, I guess today you were learning." Like, and he's the baby, so we're like, "I don't know what you know how to do. We're just winging it."
Yeah.
Yeah. But your first one, you're definitely intentional. Today we're gonna drive in the rain. Tomorrow we're gonna drive in dark. Like very intentional.
Yeah, for sure. Where do you guys live?
We're in Texas, so wide open
Which,
space.
Oh,
well, I don't know. DFW's gotten pretty
Yeah,
rough, so
yeah.
yeah.
We're in the DFW area,
Yeah.
but we can be pretty close to farmland. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not too
okay, okay. No, I love Texas. I'm actually gonna go visit my friend in Austin at the end
okay.
of June and
Yeah.
look at
Yeah.
property.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
there you go.
fun. Austin's a fun area.
Yeah,
Lots
there's
to
great
do
food down there
around there.
too.
Great food. Maybe we can just send her a couple of places she needs
Yeah,
to
I
hit
can
up.
send some over.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. Love it.
Yeah, I was going to circle back and just tell you one of the things that I did with our kids when they were little too is because I was always worried about losing them. And so I would, especially when I went to Disney or whatever, I would take a piece of masking tape and I would write my phone number and name on it and I'd stick it inside their shirt. And then one time we did not have, I was like out of masking tape, couldn't find it. And I just took a Sharpie and I wrote my phone number right on their stomach. I was like, listen, you will have it. You just go to someone and be like, call this number. It's like, I don't care if it takes months for that to come off. I mean, we're just going to do it.
So smart. I love it. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Worked out pretty well. I don't think they ever had to use that, but it gave me peace of mind, So,
Definitely.
well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today. We are going to direct people to your website so they can have all the tips and tricks. And we look forward to
Thank you.
following you on all your amazing adventures. Maybe we'll cross paths someday, especially if you buy property close by.
Yeah, that would be so much fun. I love connecting with other family travel lovers.
Yes.
We're definitely a unique breed.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to me how many people just really don't travel and don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like I just started a business with a friend of mine that's women's solo traveler groups. So we put women together in groups that don't have travel partners, and we go with them. So we have Northern Italy coming up in October. We have Greece next year, and so it's like women who either have a husband that doesn't want to travel or they're not married or whatever. We'll take them and we'll introduce them to their closest, newest 16 best friends and take them on trips.
Love
And
it.
so I'm like you. I love the connecting. It's all about those connections. I love it so much.
That's so great. I think that's a great endeavor. Good
Yeah,
luck.
pretty fun.
Sure. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank you so much for taking time to chat with us. We'll
My
direct everybody.
pleasure.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much.
Thank you so much for reaching out. I really appreciate talking to you guys about travel.
Great. Thank
Thank you so much. Take care, Rena.
Have a good day.
Yeah, bye.
Man, Rena was awesome, and she gave us a lot of helpful tips to try to make our family vacations the best they can be.
That's right.
So, Rebecca, is there anything else you think you could add that would help families have a great summer vacation?
Yeah, I think one of the things for me is to just, because we want everybody to have a great time, obviously, and you can't just every day cater to every single person, but you can go to each person before a trip, each person in your house, and say, hey, what's the one thing that's going to make this trip for you? And just try to make that one thing happen. Maybe one or two things, depending on how many kids you have. But then they feel like at least they've taken some claim to one or two things, maybe help you plan those one or two things, and just try to get those in the trip. That's just going to help everybody have something to look forward to. But if you're at a real loss for things to find to do, you need to go check out Rena's website. Go find her on all her social medias, LA Family Travel, and you won't be disappointed because there's a lot of great stuff out there that she has. Thank you, Rena. Party 5.5, over and out.
We'll see you somewhere around the world.